You're listening to Joyful Wedding Planning, your spot for de-stressing and relaxing while you plan your wedding. You might be thinking, is that even possible? Well, heck yeah, it is. I'm your host, Emily DeClue, founder of The Joy Factor, Weddings and Events, and I'm here to help you plan the wedding of your dreams joyfully. Whether you're a DIYer or a delegator, this podcast will help you find the joy factor as you plan your wedding. If you're paying a wedding venue the big bucks for your big day, shouldn't they be in charge of every single tiny little detail? Well, not quite. So I'm going to give you a list of 57 things you should be asking your wedding venue before you sign a contract. Hi, I'm Emily DeClue, founder of The Joy Factor, a wedding and event planning company based in Toronto, serving couples globally. I release new podcast episodes every Thursday, so make sure you are following to get all the juicy wedding planning details you need. Although wedding venues ask us to shell out tons of cash, they may not actually be providing you with absolutely everything you need on your wedding day. So that's why I want to go through some really essential questions for what you should be asking them before you sign a contract. This list is also attached in the blog post that this video is connected to, so I will link to that in the show notes and in the video description below. Feel free to print it and bring it with you, or you can just hire me and bring me with you. What do you say? So I fell in love with my wedding venue the instant that I saw it. I was Googling unique wedding venues in Toronto and I found it. Junto Studio at Ossington and Dupont, run by Theresa and Rana. Wonderful people. I was blown away with how they curated the space, like the design, the decor. It's actually a photography studio. It's really cool. And I also did my branding photo shoot there too. Yeah, all the pictures that I have up on my website, all at Junto Studio. I did that like a week after my wedding. Pretty fancy. Anyway, I was like so emotionally connected to this place that I was just like, okay, I have no questions. I'm just going to sign everything away. I didn't have somebody, a wedding planner with me telling me, maybe you should consider one or two things about this place before you book it. I'm like, look, I know I'm the wedding planner. I should know these things. But when you're so emotionally connected to a place, it's just flies out of your head, all of the important questions. So that's why today I want to be your wedding planner. You can have all of these questions in your back pocket. On the blog post, I'm going to have it all printed out. I may add more questions here and there as I think of them, but you can print off this list and you can ask all of these questions to your venue in advance. Keep in mind, some of these things might be like not necessarily applicable to your wedding, but it might spark some other questions that you should ask your venue. Anyway, essential questions are on here and you can take it and run with it. So I'm just gonna read these bad boys off. All right. What dates are available? Do they actually have the dates that you want for your wedding? Because if not, just bye-bye. What is the capacity? How many people are you allowed to have? Oh no, maybe you can only have 50 people. That means you can invite weirdo Norm or something. Oh no, what are you gonna do? Might work out in your favor. What is included? You might not realize this, but chairs might not be included in your venue. There were chairs included with my venue, just not 65 chairs. And I blew it on that one, so I had to rent more chairs. So, if you're thinking about the cost to rent the venue versus the cost to rent the chairs and etc., which one is going to end up being more? And which one will make you happier? That's something you should consider for your budget as well. So, does it include chairs? Does it include chair covers? What style of chair are they? Maybe they're like really ugly old like conference room chairs and like you don't want that. So, do you have to rent the chair covers to go with them? Do they provide the tables? Might sound weird, but they might not actually provide the tables. Do they provide the linens, or are you supposed to rent those or bring those? How about plates or silverware or glassware? Are you responsible for that? Is your caterer responsible for that, or is the venue responsible for that? How about AV equipment? Will they have microphones so that you can have, maybe if you're doing the ceremony in the same venue as your reception, do they have microphones for the ceremony and for the toasts at the end and for the MC? And on the subject of AV, do they have a tech person that's going to be able to help you, or are you supposed to provide that tech person as well? Staffing is a very different thing for every single venue, so you're going to have to be really specific in what you ask for if you know that you want certain elements. What is the overall fee? And are different fees included in that fee, or are there additional fees for garbage removal, on-site coordinator, security, any other staffing fees, bartender, anything like that? Is the gratuity included in that, or is that on top of it? What is the gratuity? What is the overtime fee? Most of the time, they're going to have an overtime fee. Is there an additional fee to hold the ceremony and reception in the same space? That's robbery, in my opinion. But I guess some venues do that. Is there any decor included, or is it just what you see is what you get? Maybe they have an on-site decorator. That could be kind of cool. In the case of my wedding, for my venue, everything was already decorated, so I didn't have to do anything extra for decor. Is there a changing area for the bride and the groom, and where is that room? Because it might impact how you enter the venue, to walk down the aisle, to do your grand entrance. So knowing where that is ahead of time is really, really essential. And hopefully they're not just providing you with a bathroom stall. Is there an area to store your items? So if you are a DIYer like myself, maybe you have giant boxes that need to be stowed away during the wedding so they're not sticking out like an ugly eyesore. Is there a space for you to do that? How many tables are there? What are the dimensions of the tables? How many chairs are there? Who is responsible for garbage? Is there a coat rack for your guests to hang your coats, or is there a coat check? Is there an additional fee for the coat check? Can we bring outside vendors? If so, what is or is not allowed? Some venues have a preferred vendor list, and you may end up having to go with one of theirs if you decide to go with their venue. You might not like that vendor, so it's good to know that ahead of time. That brings me to the next question. Do they require you to work with a specific vendor, just one vendor, or is there a list of preferred vendors to choose from? Find out what the cancellation policy is, and find out what the fee structure is. So is there a deposit? Is there a fee partway through, a couple months due in advance, 3 months in advance, 2 months, 1 month? What is it? So that you can budget for it. Is money due on the day? That will also help you figure out how much cash you need to have available on site at the venue to pay your vendors. If you're doing an outdoor wedding, what is the weather contingency plan? Do they have a space indoors to bring you into? Are you required to hold a certain amount of insurance? Do they have liability insurance, and if so, how much? Do they require you to have a special occasion permit or an SOP? In some different regions, it's called something else, but basically it's to have a special occasion allowance to serve alcohol. Some venues require this, some just automatically have it. If you bring your own caterer, will they have access to the kitchen? Is there a food and beverage minimum or an alcohol minimum? And what are the penalties if you don't meet it? Do they provide wait staff, or should they be hired separately? Is there a minimum number of wait staff required? Is the gratuity included in hiring the wait staff? Is there a noise policy after a certain hour? Can you bring your own cake in, or does it need to be made on site? If you bring your own cake in, is there a cake cutting fee? Can you bring your own alcohol? Some venues will allow you to bring your own wine. Some will allow different types of alcohol. Some allow zero outside alcohol. If you are allowed to bring your own alcohol, is there a corkage fee? Can you bring your own decorations? What is and what is not allowed for the decor? How early can you get in to decorate the space, and is there an additional fee for that? Can you move furniture around, or should everything remain fixed as it is? Can you use confetti, glitter, rice sparklers, or any other pyrotechnics, fireworks? Is there an open flame policy? Are outdoor spaces covered and heated, and are umbrellas provided if it starts to rain? Will the venue provide signage to direct guests, or are you responsible for printing and displaying the signage yourself? Here's a doozy. Do they provide an on-site coordinator, and what are they responsible for on the day? How early can you begin communicating with them? Will they be your point person from now on, or will it be somebody else? Different venues have different people doing totally different jobs, so you might be communicating with a few people leading up to your event. Does venue staff assist with loading and unloading, or are you responsible from getting everything, the decor, the gifts, all that stuff back to your hotel room at the end of the night? It would be good to know if you need an extra pair of hands before you get into it. Are there different spaces available within the venue? For example, is there a cocktail area if you're doing a cocktail hour? Is there a separate ceremony room? Is there a reception room? What rooms are available, and what rooms are included in that particular fee? Because they might be more. Is there parking on site? Is it paid or is it complimentary? Is the building accessible for wheelchair users or are there elevators? How many steps if there's no elevator? Is the venue easily accessible by rideshare apps and taxis? Is there a shuttle service if the venue is far from a parking lot? How many restrooms are there? Is somebody available to clean the restrooms if they become dirty? And will the venue provide amenities in the bathroom or should you provide your own? For hotels specifically, is there a complimentary suite to be made available for newlyweds on the night of the wedding? Or if not, is there a discounted rate for bulk room bookings? If it's not a hotel, what are the nearest nice hotel or accommodations available? Find out if there are any other restrictions, food, decor, or otherwise. Just ask generally, what are the other restrictions you have? If you're bringing in a band or anything that requires a high amount of voltage, ask what the electricity capacity is. And it might be a good idea to ask for a floor plan so that you can see where all of the electrical outlets are. That'll make it easier when you're setting up your different stations. You might also want to know how many weddings your venue allows per day. So some weddings run kind of long. It would be good to know. And then it might mess up all of your other vendor bookings for the rest of the day. So it would be good to know that. You could also ask for a portfolio of past weddings that you can review for inspiration. And also find out if you can ship any items to the venue a week, a month in advance, days in advance. See if they have a policy on that. Some will allow you to ship stuff, some will not. Find out if there's any planned changes or any construction that's going to be happening to the venue. I knew one bride who was absolutely devastated because she chose a venue based on the stained glass windows, which were gone come her wedding day. And it was really upsetting. It's not what you want. Like, that was part of the decor. It was the whole theme of a Cinderella wedding. But then they were just gone, and it was really sad. So find out if there's anything that's going to be changing between now and when you're having your wedding. Find out if the venue is available for exclusive use. And if it is there a minimum guest count to hold that exclusivity, or do you have to pay a certain amount of money to do that? If you're having your ceremony and reception in the same place, find out what the plan is to do the changeover from ceremony to reception, if the venue staff will be taking care of that. And lastly, ask if they have any photos of the season that you will be getting married in. So if you're visiting in the fall and you want to see what it looks like in the summertime, make sure you ask for photos of what it looks like in the summertime so you could properly visualize what your wedding is going to look like. Oh my God, that was a lot of items. 57 plus a little couple extra just bundled in there for you. But now you are like totally armed with all of the questions, well, most of the questions that you're going to need to know when you go visit your venue, and make sure when you go visit your venue and before you sign a contract. Make sure you have answers to these things because they actually will make a difference down the line when you're doing other planning for the rest of your wedding. Things tend to evolve and grow, so it's good to know what you can and can't do well in advance. And remember, just because you're paying a wedding venue to host your big day doesn't mean that they're going to take care of all the tiny details. It would be so nice if they did. But it's really good to go in prepared and know exactly what you're getting before you sign your contract. And hey, if you need someone to come down and point out very obvious things to you, like, hey, you might want to rent some chairs in this venue, I'm your gal. You can email me at emily@joyfactorweddings.com, or you could drop a comment below, and I would be so happy to help you with that. If you found this episode useful, I'd be so grateful if you followed and shared this episode with a friend or your fiance. If you have questions about your wedding venue, I'd be happy to share what I know to help. So drop me an email at emily@joyfactorweddings.com. I'll be back next Thursday with another wedding planning episode, so until then, keep it joyful. Thanks for listening to Joyful Wedding Planning. I hope you got something out of this episode, and hey, if you did, leave me a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps me to find more listeners just like you so that we can take all the stress out of wedding planning and go from panic to joy-filled moments. Need help to plan your wedding? Book a call with me at joyfactorweddings.com. I can't wait to help you plan the wedding of your dreams. This podcast was produced by The Ultimate Creative. Learn more about producing your own podcast at theultimatecreative.com.